Hi, everyone. My name is Peter Kaldes. I'm the CEO of the American Society on Aging, and welcome to another episode of Future Proof. Today, I'm joined by Scott Thoma, principal at Edward Jones. Edward Jones is an investment and financial advising firm, and Scott co-chairs the firm's investment policy committee and is responsible for client needs research, the team that develops and communicates advice and guidance for client needs, including retirement, education, preparing for the unexpected, and leaving a legacy. He has been with Edward Jones for over 20 years, and during that time, he has appeared in several media outlets like PBS's Nightly Business Report, Bloomberg, The Wall Street Journal, Kiplinger's, and the Boston Globe, and now joins us on ASA's Future Proof. Scott, welcome to Future Proof.
Great to be here, Peter. Thank you for having me.
So Scott, let's jump right into it. Last year, you and our friends over at AgeWave collaborated on a pretty significant research study called the 4 Pillars of Retirement. You played a big role in that. Can you tell us a little bit about the study?
Yeah, so at Edward Jones, we really have, I'd say, the privilege of working with 7 million individuals. We focus on helping them achieve what's most important to them. And I would say one of these goals that most of us share is retirement. And so given this, we really wanted to be sure we understood the attitudes and beliefs of Americans. What do they believe makes up a successful retirement? What makes them feel fulfilled? Our attitude's changing as we want to ensure we're doing all that we can to help individuals lead and live the lives they desire, helping them live the most fulfilling retirement possible. So I'd say that was really the genesis of the study. So last year, in May of 2020, we conducted a nationally representative 9,000 person 5-generation study with a primary goal of really better understanding the evolving definition of retirement. Now, we started planning this survey in 2019. So one of the things we weren't expecting was that there was also going to be a pandemic that would be going on at the exact same time we were doing the survey. But we decided to continue to press on with the survey. We thought this may be, and I'm going to use the word opportunity, I guess, in air quotes, but an opportunity to ask some additional questions about the pandemic. How are individuals' behaviors and beliefs changing potentially due to the pandemic? So we've since updated this survey. We've done additional ones. We did one additional in December as well as in March of this year to really follow up and see how people are doing, see how their recovery is going. And we actually just released the results of the March survey on Monday, June the 7th. And that release was entitled The 4 Pillars of the New Retirement, What a Difference a Year Makes.
Yeah, so I can't wait to dig into this with you. What are some sort of the top level findings of this study that you'd like to share?
Yeah, so I'll start with kind of the results of the initial landmark study, which I would say kind of laid the foundation for our updates. We found, maybe not surprisingly to a lot of listeners that you have here, that retirement is really being viewed as a time of opportunity, a next chapter, both viewed as, I'd say, a freedom from as well as a freedom to. Freedom from many of the stressors that may have been with their career, as well as the freedom to do the things that they may have always have dreamed of. But I would say most importantly, we found in the study what we call 4 pillars, if you will. These things that were critical to driving well-being in retirement. These 4 areas were family, health, purpose, and finances. And there's so much richness that we found in each of these areas. We found that all of them were needed to be addressed in order to live and lead a fulfilling retirement. They're all really intertwined. I'd say another really compelling result was that while retirees have a disproportionate health risk from the pandemic, they also were the ones that were reporting the greatest optimism relative to others. The majority noting that the pandemic has actually given them more appreciation for what makes life meaningful. They now have much more empathy, more compassion, really more focus on people who are struggling in ways that maybe they are not.
You know, one of the innovations that I think is remarkable in this study is your focus on the pillar of a sense of purpose. This is something that people outside of the field of aging often leave out, but for those of us in the field of aging, we know that there is scientific evidence to support that when one has a sense of purpose, retirement feels very different. So, Scott, why is having a sense of purpose so significant to planning for retirement?
We could probably spend a whole session just on this alone. It is such a great question. And as you said, I'd say something that people outside of the field of aging often leave out. And I would say that's something that us within the field of financial services often leave out. Certainly we care about when we're working with people's finances, ensuring their goals are reached, finances can provide for their needs, they're building a sustainable income stream, we're providing for healthcare. But I would ask the question, are we spending enough time on that person's why? Are we helping them understand what their purpose is? Because as you noted, it is so important to well-being and a successful retirement. I mentioned that the four pillars are intertwined. There have been numerous studies that you just alluded to that show that having a strong sense of purpose reduces risk of Alzheimer's, stroke, cardiovascular problems, as well as those with a higher sense of purpose have better health. They have better cognitive function. They have higher life satisfaction as well as longer lifespan. So just the health benefits alone of having purpose cannot be overstated. Now, we saw within the survey that 90% of Americans agreed that having a purpose is key to a successful retirement. But I would say we also found that while nearly all retirees say that purpose is important, more than a quarter of them struggled with that retirement transition. They struggled where, let's say, many might define themselves as their career, their work. And so as they were transitioning into retirement, they had this crisis, if you will, as to what their purpose is. So I would say, as an industry, we have tremendous opportunity to help individuals make this transition and not just focus on their finances and see if they're financially ready to transition, but that they're ready to transition from a sense of purpose, whether that's volunteering, doing a new endeavor, spending time with family, just really dig in and really understand what's fulfilling to them.
Scott, I love how you put that, asking the why. And I'm wondering, how has the pandemic shifted the why or Americans' views on a sense of purpose?
Yeah, and I would point to this, Peter, as maybe one of the silver linings that we've seen from the pandemic. In fact, retirees noted they're more likely to say that having a sense of purpose is one of the most important things to achieving optimal well-being. I'd say the pandemic has shifted the focus of what many believe is important, and that has shifted, maybe perhaps not surprisingly, to the importance of relationships. Spending time with family, we found, is now the highest on the list of providing the greatest sense of purpose. And so that dwarfed other areas in the studies, such as fulfilling goals, doing enjoyable things, and even being financially wealthy. But I'd also say that while spending time with family has risen to the top, retirees really desire an opportunity to give back. And that also came through loud and clear within the survey. In fact, they're sort of struggling with how do they find that opportunity to give back. And I would say that's one of the things that we should be focusing on as a nation. So we found that 90% of retirees said they desire to give back and would love to be able to use their talents and knowledge to benefit communities. So let's do some math while we're at it. We all love math, right? If you think about there's 69 million or so retirees, give or take. If they volunteered 3 hours a day for 20 years, it's 238 billion volunteer hours, what could be worth almost $7 trillion to society overall. So think about that amazing win-win-win. Win for our retirees, striving for a sense of purpose, but win obviously for our economy, and certainly a win for our community.
And this country really has such a strong history of volunteerism. I fear that sometimes it goes undervalued, and I'm glad that you use that math to demonstrate the power of service. I'm with you 100%. Let's talk about something else that we may not fully understand yet, and that is the full financial impact of the pandemic on people's lives. What can you tell us about the financial security related questions that folks are struggling with today after the pandemic?
And I would say it's really been kind of a tale of two different economies. I mean, there are individuals, actually the retirees themselves, which are doing on a whole a little bit better than other generations. You think about those are individuals that maybe are not in the workforce anymore. They've saved for retirement. The stock market has been doing fairly well. And so I'd say retirees, just as a group overall, have fared fairly well through the pandemic, both mentally as well as financially. But there are certainly many Americans that are not. We found within the study that 69 million Americans have said their retirement timing has been affected. 1 in 3 have said actually that they're going to be retiring later than planned. In addition, during the worst of the crisis, we had 22 million Americans say they had stopped making monthly retirement contributions overall. Now, we have seen improvement. So in the recent study that we did back in March, that number had dropped by a third, but we still have about 14 million or so who said they stopped making contributions. It kind of peel back the onion a little bit and go into some more depth. It certainly hasn't impacted everyone equally. Generation Z and the millennials have felt the greatest negative financial impact among age groups. And women's financial security has been hit a lot harder than men's as well, too. And unfortunately, I'd say it's widened that economic gender gap. We've seen women who are overall in general more likely to exit the workforce than they did during the pandemic more to potentially care for others. We saw confidence in retirement savings remaining low for women, while men's has rebounded since the beginning of the pandemic. And then we try to run some numbers on this to try to, I'd say, put some more context on it to see if we can start driving this conversation. Women in general tend to need more money to fund their longer retirements because their retirements last longer, but they also face greater barriers to save because of that disproportionate toll, potentially from the pandemic, pay gap, and just from career interruptions. So we put some math on this. For women of color, the gender pay gap alone translates to about a 700,000 lifetime earning gap for Black women and $850,000 earnings gap for Hispanic women.
You know, given these stark inequalities, are you optimistic that retirement is actually something that is possible for anyone but the wealthy?
Well, I want to give a short answer to your question first, and then, of course, a longer answer, since that's what I'm doing. So I'll start out with the short answer to that is no, it's not only for the wealthy. I mean, certainly we've seen some of the sobering statistics, and we saw a few more within the survey as well, too. We saw that among households 45 to 54 in age, 42% of them did not have any retirement savings, and the median retirement balance for that age group was only $100,000. But at the same time, I would answer your question as it isn't just for the wealthy for a couple of reasons. I mean, first, I would note that we saw within the survey again, too, that having a fulfilling retirement isn't all about wealth and money. Now, please don't hear what I'm not saying. Certainly having that financial security is critical. But to have a fulfilling retirement, we really need to be addressing all those four pillars: purpose, family, health, and finances. And we haven't really spoken about one of those areas, health, which I'd say is incredibly important. We know healthcare in general is an opportunity. 80% of Americans over the age of 65 have at least one chronic condition, and 42% of retirees live with a disability. So I'd say focusing on health can be a huge driver in helping with our finances and economic security. But I also want to go to one of the things that we were talking about earlier. 70% of Americans have viewed the pandemic as a financial wake-up call. In fact, we found that a third of those planning to retire are now contributing more to their retirement savings because of the pandemic. And this is actually much more pronounced in Hispanic Americans as well as millennials. So I think that now that we have this information, the question is, what can we do collectively to make it different? How do we partner for positive change to do something about these statistics? And I would say, Peter, it's going to take a holistic effort. It's not just financial services. It's going to be healthcare, education. It's going to be talking about strengthening some of our key programs in the retirement system like Social Security to really start addressing these gaps above. But again, the long-winded answer to your question is no, it isn't just for the wealthy. It's for everybody.
You know, you're touching on where I want to end, Scott, and that is about lessons learned from the pandemic and how we can apply any innovations to moving forward. Future Proof is a show about innovations. So based on what you learned in the 4 Pillars of Retirement study, how is Edward Jones going to be applying the insights to innovating? And maybe even more broadly, what are some lessons for the financial services industry that should be applied in providing for perhaps new vehicles for retirement?
So I'll try to hit those both together. And the first thing I would say, and it sort of builds off what I said before, is once you learn all of this, the key is to do something about it. You can't unknow something. And if you know that to help someone live a fulfilling retirement means you need to have a holistic plan where value is about much, much more than simply investment returns. And please don't hear what I'm not saying again. I love portfolios. I mean, diversification brings a tear to my eye. But it's more than just about investment performance. performance. It's a strategy that addresses all the four pillars: family, health, purpose, in addition to their finances. Now, within this survey, we saw that current retirees are saying they wish they did a better job planning for both the financial and the non-financial aspect of retirement. So we know there is an overwhelming need for comprehensive guidance. 3/4 of Americans planning said that they wish there were more resources available to help them plan. So I'd say one of the things we're doing is it starts with education. So we've been communicating these insights with our 19,000 financial advisors to first ensure that they really have the foundation and understand how we can partner with our clients to better position them to lead a fulfilling retirement. We're providing more resources to them to help them have those conversations about those items, better tools and solutions to help them identify their client's purpose, as well as address their client's biggest concerns. Those are in areas like health and ensuring their money lasts as long as they need it. We're also trying to offer more solutions, I would say, to help people give back for those individuals who may be more charitably inclined. And I would, as you asked the question as to what we expect, I would expect more innovation here to be able to help more clearly highlight the link between a client's investments and their financial strategy to those other four pillars. One final comment I would say, though, is because if you think about us as a firm, one of the things that we are focusing on, in addition to understanding our client's purpose, is understanding our own purpose as a firm as well. So we've actually rewritten our firm's purpose statement. So our purpose statement is a firm that's focused on partnering for positive impact to improve the lives of our clients and our colleagues, and together better serve communities. We know we're not only stewards of our clients' finances, we have an enormous opportunity through the communities that we live in. And we're in actually every county in the United States but one. So we have an enormous opportunity and responsibility to the communities that we work and give back in to help make an impact in the lives of our clients and the communities we serve. And I would say, Peter, to really make a difference in their lives.
You know, like Edward Jones, ASA members are across the country, and I know that together in the communities that they both serve, they could do some powerful work if they collaborate on a number of the four pillars that you talked about. Scott Thoma of Edward Jones, thank you so much for joining me today on Future Proof.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much, Peter.
And to all of you, please enjoy future episodes of Future Proof, and don't forget to click on our podcasts and all the upcoming events that ASA has to offer. Thanks, everyone.